Hey kids, this is Aaron from the podcast That Wouldn't Die, and Kevin and I use Zencastr. You think you're better than us, that you're using something else? You're wrong. Zencastr's the place to be. Who are you to deny it?
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code DIEHARD and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time for you to share your story.
Only a fool would give up a chance for a 30% discount.
Charles Brady is new in town.
You can actually talk to him?
Yeah, he's nice. Real nice.
The girls all like him. The teachers all respect him.
Your teachers in Ohio must have been sorry to lose such a creative young man.
The parents all trust him.
He's utterly charming.
But nobody really knows him like his mother.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello.
This week, we're discussing the horror classic, Sleepwalkers, starring some people. What's her name? Is her name Madchen? Madchen Amick?
Madchen Amick.
From
Twin Peaks fame.
From Twin Peaks. Right. And that voice you're hearing is our special guest, Antonio, from the Cultworthy Cinema Podcast and a million other podcasts, I might add.
Very nice, very nice.
It's true. Thank you for having me back. It's an honor.
Of course. And there's other people in this movie other than Brian Krause, who I guess was on, what was that? Charmed. He was on Charmed. If you ever watched that,
what was he
show.
On Charmed?
He was like the boyfriend or somebody's boyfriend.
Charmed made me love the Smiths.
Any relation to Peter Krause? I don't know. I didn't care enough to do the research.
You know,
let's just say yes.
You would be.
Let's just say yes. It's facts.
Well, it
like feels like a fact
because his name sounds like Peter Krause. I'm like, oh yeah, sounds familiar. It may not be familiar to me at all, frankly, because I may be thinking Peter Krause from 6 Feet Under, etc. What?
I realized my speaker was on the whole time.
Sweet Jesus.
That's just part of the magic.
That's just part of the magic. Curtain. Each week on the podcast That Wouldn't Die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horrors and sci-fi genres.
Of the horrors.
It sounded like I said the horrors. Of the horrors. I was watching an episode of Montel Williams, I swear to God, 30 years ago. Yeah. I'm a big fan of his work, even now.
You have the Blu-ray Best of Montel.
The Best of Montel. And somebody said, like, you're nothing but a whore.
Yeah,
and it stuck with me for all these years. 2 syllables, no R's to be found. Anyway. Good Lord. Aaron, what's the latest with you?
I'm feeling a little tired, so I had a cup of coffee at 3:00. So I'm going to be talking really fast. I have 2 espressos in the morning, and it feels like it does nothing. I have a cup of coffee from my freaking Keurig at work at 3:00, and it's like on crack cocaine. I'm going to be talking a mile a minute, so just hold on for
I would
dear
be up
life.
all night if I had like a freaking Diet Coke after 3.
That's why I'm glad they shut down TikTok, because I'm gonna still be wired and I'm gonna be like a death scroll, and then it'll be like, oh, it's 1:00. I gotta get up at 6
all night.
Yeah, all night long.
Sweet Jesus. Anyway, well, thanks for that. Anything else you want to share?
I quit X because I couldn't give 3 for it. And frankly, I'm looking at you Threads. And why is Threads all posting up in my Instagram? Why do I need Threads if they keep wanting to show me quotes from random strangers on Threads on my Instagram?
That is a weird thing that they do on Threads, where it's just like, do you want to see more of this random person's posts?
No,
No,
them.
I don't.
I'm
In
gonna be.
fact,
I'm gonna be down to Flickr and Tumblr. That's all that's gonna be left.
Flickr. Right.
Grinder. I was throwing Grinder in there for fun.
Grinder.
I think all of us podcasters should just take over the dating apps, right? We'll just create profiles just to push our show, just to push our message. We might get more hits and clicks off of that than we will off of these stupid social media sites that everyone's leaving. I think
Except I'm on Facebook dating, so I'm not sure if that's going to drive any new revenue. But as soon as we get off of here, I am going to put our podcast information on there.
There you
Facebook
go.
dating? Is that real?
Yeah,
Oh, it's real.
That ain't real.
it is. We call it surreal. Is more like it.
It's for the people that don't want to pay
dude
a
from the
dating app.
mountains who looks like Santa Claus. Yeah, likes me. I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
Well, you put like the world as your kind of radius, which is always the kiss
No,
of death.
Bakersfield, and basically I get two of these guys, and I'm like college graduate, professional. So I get an unemployed dude with like visible teeth missing.
You get
who's
Jeremiah
10 years
Johnson.
older than me. Oh my god! Where the first thing is, I love Jesus. Jesus is the Lord and Savior. And then the rest of the profiles in Spanish. And I speak no other language. So, but thanks for the like.
I mean, first of all, it's Bakersfield. So beggars can't be choosers at this stage of the game.
Basically, if
You
you're
can say that,
not
I
in a
can't.
backwards ball cap and in a t-shirt, shorts, long socks, you're a scammer. There are all these like men will pop up in a tailored shirt. I'm like, you're not from here. You're a scammer. Scammer. 100%.
If it's an ad from Gentleman's Quarterly for their for their profile
Exactly.
pic. I see. Interesting.
Born and bred Bakersfield. I love Jesus. I look like a GQ model, and I live in some remote, weird little desert town. Scammer.
Good to know. Well, it's like the people who try to DM me on like Instagram, where it's like, it's like some adult pose in the background, big boobs, just poop like their heads resting on their boobs.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't
love
know
your
you and you
podcast.
don't know me.
I love your
don't know
podcast
me.
about horror movies.
Horror.
Horror movies.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Best of times.
Why don't you give us a 30-second synopsis of Sleepwalkers?
Weird VC Andrews vampire couple rolls into town and has trouble finding people to suck the life out of, like Dr. Sleep. They're lame-o vampires, so teenagers are able to defeat them. The end.
This movie.
The corn in the
Lay it on
cob
me.
murder, though.
Oh my God. The shit, I mean, I want to just jump right in, frankly, because it's like, it's kind of a boilerplate horror film until the moment, what's his name? Brian Krause decides, I am going to kill you now. Then it's kind of slapsticky. Like I'm watching Abbott and Costello meet the Wolfman or some shit.
Except not funny. And the makeup is clearly from Beauty and the Beast. Ron Perlman said, hey, I have a dude. Let's get that dude. Because until they turn into, what do they call the blobfish, they are literally Beauty and the Beast. It is Ron Perlman's makeup.
Ron Perlman
I
said,
can
I
see
think
that.
I got the costume in the back of my car. Is what really
Yeah, he
what
didn't get
said.
the makeup guy. He's like, I got a bunch of prosthetics that I stole from the set.
When I was escorted from the premises, right?
Did Rick Baker do it, or is he just doing a cameo?
Oh, he's just doing a cameo. Don't get me started on the cameos.
There's a shit ton of crazy cameos. Let me ask you this. Had you guys seen this before? Aaron, had you seen this before?
Never in my life.
Had you heard of it?
Uh-oh, Antonio's raising his hand and he's bouncing up and down. don't know what that means.
Antonio.
Now I can't hear him. Maybe I'm having a stroke because he seems to be speaking, but no words come out.
No, I just shut my mic off because the dog was barking, but now I'm back. It's
Oh,
okay.
we
Crisis
don't worry
averted.
about those
This is the
things.
behind the scenes shit, Aaron. You don't have to announce everything. Good
I'm
Lord.
like, what's happening?
She left her speaker
Something's gone
on, so I
wrong.
can turn my mic off for a second.
So, Antonio, had you ever seen this before?
You were calling for help.
Help! Save me from this podcast. I've seen this way too many times, Kevin. This is one of those movies that I was just at the right age where it was always on Showtime or Cinemax, and if it was on, I was watching it because, for one, it's gentle horror, like she said. It's not your traditional horror movie. It's not very scary. If anything, it's hornier than it is scary.
If you like that mom and son sex.
So that's my next point is like this movie, and especially Alice Krige, aka the Borg Queen.
Yes.
Dude, like she's like the queen of awkward boners because like she's sexy, but at the same time it's like, but she's my mom in this movie.
Yes.
Or she's like the decrepit, decaying cyborg queen from Star Trek, yet I still would. That's the kind of actress that Alice Krige is, I guess. But she's good at it, so all the more props to her.
100%. 100%.
Oh my God, I didn't realize she was the Borg Queen. That is her most triumphant role, by the way.
Tell me about it.
Iconic.
Iconic. 100%. I saw this in the theater.
Me too.
If you could imagine that. This was, if I remember this correctly, this was kind of Stephen King saying, Lawnmower Man, f*** you. I'm offended that you took my shit. So I'm going to do my thing. This is my contribution. This is the real shit. And this is just as f***ing nuts as Lawnmower Man. It's like, what are we doing? Steve-O, is this Maximum Overdrive Part 2? What are we doing here?
The Maximum Overdrive made more sense.
Well, yeah, because I mean, where it was directly written for the screen, that was like their selling point. Like Stephen King's first adaptation for the screen, not from a novel, where Maximum Overdrive was an adaptation from like a story. And I think Aaron hit the nail right on the head, where I feel like he took all of the elements that were in his mind that he wanted to put in future books, and this was kind of like their little spawning pool where he's like, well, I got this shit from that one and this shit from that one and this shit from that one. I'm just going to throw them all in this movie and I'll recycle them later for other things, like the life force sucking and turning into creatures. Like it's all very similar. And then the incest thing, well, I mean, he's always had his thing for kinks, and he definitely went hard. Stephen Kink is what we should call him.
Stephen King. There we go.
That's it. That's on the poster. You're right, because it's such it's a collection of wildly disparate elements, right?
Right.
And frankly, there's no reason why there has to be this incest thing going on. It is so bizarre. It is the craziest, because it's like, I guess their scheme is they come to town and only the son can suck the life force of whomever, right? And I guess his move is to, go after, high school chicks, essentially. Sucks their life out, and then he passes it along to the mother because she can't do it on her own.
With his dick.
Hey, that's how 100%. 100%. That's how he do.
They are literally the worst vampires, that they can't just grab someone driving down the street. It's got to be, we got to enroll him in school. We got to 31 Jump Street them, work our way into the community. You can be driving down the street with a fucking van and suck the life out, pitch the body, and keep on going.
Like Dr. Sleep. He figured it out for that one,
Yeah. He worked the kinks out after that.
He worked the Stephen Kinks out. He worked them
Stephen
out.
Kinks keeps coming back. Aaron, you
I
keep
think
saying
what we
vampires, but that's not. They're not like bloodsuckers. They're weird. I guess we're supposed to think they're like Egyptian cat shapeshifter things.
Yet
Is
they're
that
allergic to
the
cats.
yes? They're
cats
sworn
hate
enemies.
them.
They're
Right.
sworn
And they only
enemies.
listen to music from the 50s. I'm like, maybe they're just new. Maybe they were turned whatever in the 50s.
Bro, they listen to Sleepwalking, which I think is hilarious because I think there's two groups of people, right? There's a group of people, if they hear that Sleepwalking song, they think of La Bamba and Richie!
Ah, that's right.
Or they think about Brian Krause laying it to his mom with purple light glowing in the background. There's two types of people that this song are going to affect. For me, I'm the La Bamba guy. My partner, she loves this movie and she just thinks of this song in relevance to Sleepwalkers. Like, this is a Sleepwalkers song.
Oh
I'm like,
shit.
we're not the same.
No, 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 no. Whenever I think of La Bamba, I always think of Bob going, "She's not the first or the
Or the
last."
last.
It's not supposed to be funny, but I love Isai Morales is a national treasure. I
Yeah,
love
he
him
sold
so
that one.
much. God damn it. Okay, why don't we jump right in to Sleepwalk? First of all, why is it called Sleepwalkers?
Good
Anybody?
question.
Don't know.
No idea. I was trying to figure it out. I really am. Like, I think it just sounds cool. And the connection to the song Sleepwalking, if that was it, like, did they call it that just to use that song? Okay, sure. Why not? Cocaine still.
Right.
I think what we learned is Stephen King's not allowed to write screenplays.
Right.
That's what we
I
learned.
think that's
very,
I think
very
that's an
long
important
novels.
lesson.
Well,
Just long novels. I would rather have that.
There's like a placard, like at the beginning of the movie, where it says "Sleepwalkers," definition, Egyptian shapeshifter, blah 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 blah.
Oh,
And I'm like, well,
Jesus.
shit, maybe this was some like previous mythology that he was drawing on. No, this is all brand new, made up shit. It comes back to that thing where it's like they're crazy cats, but they're called sleepwalkers for no god. There's no sleeping, there's no sleepwalking, except for the song, I guess. So there
Well,
you go.
I
First of all, they look way too albino to be anywhere near Egypt.
Right.
Even too albino to even be Greek. Nah.
They were so white they could have been in Sinbad and the Golden Voyage, right?
Oh yeah, that could have been that one, right? 100%. I mean, they do get a pass.
Perfect.
They do get a pass because they tried to pass Catherine Deneuve off as Egyptian in The Hunger. So
Right.
But she's
get a little
Catherine
bit of a pass.
Deneuve. No one's going to argue with her.
And Sean
Right.
Connery in Highlander was Egyptian as well.
Yeah, right. Oh boy. I love about Kevin when they have that little kind of like preface at the start of the movie.
Yes.
And Sleepwalker has like a Nordic enunciation to it. It's like SL with an apostrophe and then like Valker at the end. Like, are we supposed to pronunciate it that way? What are we doing here?
I didn't know the Egyptians used umlauts and such.
Right. So many umlauts.
It's the only proper way to pronounce it. I think we can all agree on that.
Again, it all goes back to the cocaine.
Right. Well, and then we get Mark Hamill.
Oh, which I didn't know.
It's Mark Hamill, right?
Yes.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, what the
Right. That was wild. I did not know. When he turns around with his big old handlebar mustache, I'm like, am I crazy? Or does that guy look like Mark Hamill? And he's not in any. He's uncredited,
Yeah,
and he doesn't
right.
appear anywhere else in the movie. He's in 5
Right.
minutes of this movie.
That's
Right.
why I made myself doubt myself. I'm like, that dude looks like Mark Hamill. Then I kept waiting for him to reappear so I can be sure.
Like
Yeah.
this movie
Weird.
is 100% financed by favors with all the cameos
Yes.
and all the things that we
Yeah.
just see pop in. Ron Perlin's makeup, it's like, oh yeah. The first thing I thought though is like I would have loved to have seen a cut where they do like a black light of the crime scene and just see what kind of like incestuous DNA is all over the room. Like
It's just glowing. You can't
just
look directly at
glowing.
it.
Love
It's
apparently
like
they've
a
been there for
welder's
years.
mask.
Well, and then
100%.
they have all the cats hanging around the house that have been like strung up and stuff like that. Do you think that like neighbors and passersby wouldn't have noticed all of the decaying cats hanging around before like they were looking for the missing girl? Like I think that'd be the first sign that something's up with this fucking house.
Absolutely. No,
Is it a warning to the other cats?
it's a warning.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's a warning for cats, but it's also kind of like a lure for crime scene investigations, right?
If you're driving down the street and you see that shit, you're picking up the phone.
Right.
No
You're someone
question.
placing a call. First to
Because
animal services and then the police.
And then, seriously, because people's like cats, people love their goddamn cats.
Right.
You can't just murder an entire city. It's like a small town. Every cat has been murdered, and they're all hanging out outside this house.
Right.
No one will
they're not
notice.
getting buried or burned. They're getting strung up on these like trees and rain gutters. Yeah.
Right. Because the sleepwalkers, I guess, are like, you can't kill them unless a cat kills them, essentially. Like a house cat, not like a tiger or some shit.
Right.
But a
Just
house
start throwing cats at him. Start throwing cats at him.
I would do that anyway, frankly, for being honest. So they find the dead body of the previous victim, and she's all desiccated. It was kind of like, ironically, like Life Force, how
Yeah.
they look after they've had their life force sucked out of them. So now we know that there's some shit going on, basically.
Yeah.
What other highlights you guys want to talk about from this from this masterpiece?
I have a complaint. We talked about why is the son out shopping when clearly, as we see at the end, mom can run around and take care of business.
Right. There's no reason why she's a shut-in, right? Because in
Correct.
the thrilling climax, she's out there single-handedly
thrilling
murdering
climax.
everybody.
I mean, really, it's about a mother's love, guys. I mean, I don't know what else to say. You know, it's a charming story about a mother's love for her son. You know,
Absolutely.
okay.
Shown in so many ways.
And don't get me wrong, I kind of love this movie, but like in a guilty pleasure kind of way. But at the same time, the vampire glamour aspect of it really pisses me off. The fact that he can glamour himself invisible, and then he can glamour his car to be a completely different make and model, but he has to like use all of his life force and energy to do it. Or you could just steal a car. Like, why are we like using all of our power and life force to glamour our whatever it was of what was the car? It was like
It was a
Trans
Trans
Am.
Am, and then it becomes like a Mustang or something.
Yes. So
Yeah,
that
they're
part's a little
not
beyond my
very
belief.
good at this. That's what I think. They're not very good at it.
Well, because it's like you said, it's like their Twilight or some shit, where they come to town and are enrolled in school, and he has to like choose just the right lady, the special lady. He's got to romance her and take her for a picnic down by the graveyard. And when you're right, he could just pull a Silence of the Lambs and just hit her on the head and throw her in the back of the van, right?
Dude, he wasted that creepy teacher from Beetlejuice who was
Also.
going for his manhood. He should have packed him up and taken him home. He should have faked out. Let's go, bro. They could have fed off of him. What the hell?
That whole thing was fucking ridiculous because it was like the teacher was kind of pissed off at him because I guess he corrected him and said that a box actually has 6 sides, not 4.
Right.
You stupid bastard.
And then he
So
pisses
that
him off so
literally
much.
seemed like it lifted. It seemed like that was whole lifted from Carrie. Did you get Carrie vibes?
Definitely Carrie vibes. And I think it's hilarious that like it pissed the teacher off so much that he went into his school records and investigated to find out that his transcripts were fake and Paradise Falls is not a real town, to the point where instead of like calling him into the principal's office on Wednesday, he flags him down in his little VW bug and accosts him on the side of the road.
Yes.
It's the most masculine that actor's ever been in a movie, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is true. Well, what's interesting is at one point he says, "Are you trying to blackmail me?" And he starts to say, "There are other things I want other than money," or some shit like that. Like he was trying to extort sexual favors before he gets his hand ripped off.
Well, he got his hand roofed up going for the man route. He was going for it.
Right.
That was actually a funny scene because he's running away through the swamp, which is just happens to be there, going, "I'm
It's always a
sorry,
swamp.
I'm sorry."
But
I love that he tears off his hand and just gives it right back to him, and he holds it for a second and looks at it, and then drops it and runs away. Yeah, that's great filmmaking.
It was great. It was Kubrickian filmmaking, you might argue.
Kubrickian.
Well, because he stalks him and kills him like you would imagine a crazy cat monster would do, but that
Right.
doesn't seem to. They don't eat people. They
Right.
suck their life force, but not this motherfucker's life force. It's got to be
No.
the cutie at the drive-in. Evidently, she's the only one who'll fit the bill for some reason.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because even though like he does apparently, it looks like he's tearing his throat out, he still
Yeah.
goes home and gives mom the purple glowing life force. So maybe he got a little bit of life out of it. It just wasn't a whole lot. I don't know. And the fact that they eat regular food, because like we see him
Yes!
eating French fries, and then she's making like chicken and cranberry stuffing for him and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot to it that I don't think
that was weird.
the lore is deeper than the movie shows, but I mean, I don't need to know it. I'm fine.
Well, it made me think of how elaborate and unnecessarily elaborate, like the life span of like aliens, like the xenomorph. It's like, so there's a queen that lays the egg, and then that jumps on somebody's face and plants another fucking egg.
Right.
Right. So there's eggs upon eggs upon eggs.
And
Where
then every movie, the gestation gets faster and faster and faster and faster.
Correct. So, but you're right. It's like they're eating like 3-course meals and shit every goddamn night, and then she's like, "But I'm starving for that sweet, sweet life force. So you got to go handle
That's
this."
right. For that thing you do.
Well, and then I think the one thing that they don't really show, but I'm assuming is what happens is that as their life force dwindles, they just can't keep their human form because their human form is a glamour. So if she was to like lose too much energy, she would just revert into like their shapeshifter sleepwalker cat form. And that's the way my mind process it, but they don't really
Well,
show.
when they're home, why don't they just go back to blobfish?
Right.
And just
Right.
clearly no one's coming to visit.
100%. 100%. Well, it's like you said. I guess their only real form is when you see them essentially, because then they're fully blobbed out and all slimy and
So hot.
it's good stuff. It's good stuff because it's true. Okay, so he's romancing the girl who, I mean, she is very cute. She is very cute. So I get it. But it's literally like he's playing the long game as mom's like, "Why aren't we just sucking her life force? What are we doing?" And it seems like he kind of starts to have feelings for her. Am I crazy? Because he was kind of conflicted.
And then
he's
immediately
Go ahead, Andrew.
he's immediately rapey.
Or Baron.
Well, that, yes. I thought that was what it was too, but then I thought maybe it's like Pennywise, where it's like her life force is stronger the more susceptible she is. Like maybe it's the opposite of Pennywise, where like fear makes them taste better. But in this case, it's like sensuality and attraction and trust. Like the more he honeypots her, the more life force she's going to give him. Because you're right. He turns it on a dime where it's like making out, making out, making out. Then he's like, "And now your lunch." And it just turns into like this weird slapsticky, I don't know, Abbott and Costello like character.
And why did you go meet the parents? Because now you're number one suspect. What was that about?
Can we talk about how her parents are Ferris Bueller's parents?
I did not know that, but I thought it was the mom from Beverly Hills 90210, but then I looked it up and it wasn't. That's cool.
It's
hate
the
Ferris
mom.
Bueller, though.
Yeah, it's the mom from Ferris Bueller and son-in-law, and then it's Ferris Bueller's dad, and they were married in real life. So they actually
Oh, I didn't know
played
that. That's
parents
fun.
twice in these movies. Yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. But you're right. They're at the graveyard, and their only reason they're there is because she wants to jump him. Like her friends are like, "When are you going to nail that shit?" It's
Right?
like, close the deal. Like, dude, obscene gestures and blowjob jokes. And so she's dragging his ass to the graveyard. And the mom's like, oh, shit. I know what happens
She got
there.
a bottle of wine. She got all
We're
kinds of
only
stuff.
doing rubbings, Mom. We're just
I
gonna
bet
go
they
do
are.
rubbings to the... Oh, let's talk about her
Please.
bedroom really fast, because she brings him home, and then I don't know, Aaron, I've never been a teenage girl, but is it normal for you to just throw panties all over your room, like on top of your nightstand and like the bed frame and like a picture of you as a child? You just have panties all over the place. Is that
Yeah,
natural?
and they're all very specific, skimpy ones. It's not
Yes,
like
right.
your old, like I'm hanging out on a Saturday underwear. It's all very Victoria's Secret, placed everywhere. It's ridiculous.
There were less panties thrown at a Tom Jones concert. Okay, it was for goddamn ridiculous.
I will say though,
that was kind of cute and fun. Her kind of reaction to shit, her embarrassment. She's very likable in this.
I agree. That's what I was about to say, is that like for the material, I feel that for the most part, these actors met the challenge of, well, I guess these are my lines, so I'm just gonna do the best I can with them. And there's some real fun moments in there. I think the MVP of the movie for me, apart from Alice Cridge with the awkward bonerness, is the cop Andy and his cat Clovis.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I did like that.
Those two are my favorite. I mean, essentially, the way I see it, he is like John C. Reilly in Magnolia. He's just driving around talking to himself, pretending he's on Cops and singing himself songs. And he's got his little cat buddy, deputized cat, I guess you could say, who ends up being the hero of the movie.
He is the goddamn hero of the... Clovis is the hero. It's a kitten, basically, isn't it? I mean, it's a little cat. And it's frankly kind of a sad moment when the deputy is murdered by Brian Krause, and Clovis fends off the killer and kind of climbs onto his chest and kind of like does a little sad little meow. Yeah. It was like, Jesus, this is a real thing here we're dealing with.
And then
this is a deep movie.
Then he assembles essentially a cat army to take out Alice Cridge at the end. Like, Clovis didn't get top billing in this movie, but he's like the hero.
It should have been Clovis versus the Sleepwalkers. Where's Clovis 2? Is what I need.
Versus the Predator.
Clovis v. Predator.
What we need is some bullshit 8-part Hulu series just about the life and times of Clovis, since they're giving us so many Stephen King adaptations that we really don't want.
Clear. Yeah.
A new Salem's Lot. No one asked for that.
Oh, God. Sweet Jesus. We just talked about this. Listeners of our show know our thoughts and feelings. Anywho. But I want to go back to the graveyard, because there's a moment where she's like trying to pull him down to get to business. He's like, whoa, hang on, time out. I'm not a piece of meat. Until they start, like, he's kind of like, if we go down there, my interpretation, so who the hell, what it means. It seemed like he was saying, if we go down to the ground, I'm going to have to kill you. I'm going to suck your juices out. Or whatever.
Pardon me, sir.
Right? So he's kind of hesitant, because based upon their one afternoon together, he's now hopelessly in love, until he starts sucking out her life force.
Her life force.
And then it's a total flip, where it's like he's Freddy Krueger, like cracking wise about murdering her.
Well, this is one of the things that I thought about, guys, because you were just on my show last week, and we discussed My Demon Lover. And I feel there's something very similar where, like, he seems like a nice guy, but as soon as he gets turned on, as soon as he gets that sweet, sweet life juice, then he can't be responsible or control his actions, right? It's all animal instinct at that point.
So he's the mangler, is what you're saying.
He's the mangler. He's her demon lover.
He is literally, because I think they say that the Sleepwalkers are in fact demons.
Correct.
and this is how they do their stuff. So he is literally
Maybe
her demon lover.
it's a reimagining of My Demon Lover.
Right. Like Stephen King. Stephen King was high one night. He caught My Demon Lover on USA Up All Night with Rhonda Shear. He was like,
That's a good show.
I'm writing this down.
Like, I can make this better.
Right. He does that. We all know he does that.
Where's my legal pad? I'm taking notes. Yeah. So so now that he is established as being a crazy freak, he's basically checked out at this point because he gets poked in the eye with the corkscrew and gets scratched up by Clovis. So he's like he's done for the movie. He's laying in bed and kind of pops up every now and again. But it's basically Alex. I want to call Alice Krieg.
Cridge.
Do you know that's how you pronounce it, or are you making up shit?
No, that's how you pronounce it.
Okay, fair. Fair. Now it's her movie because she's like, if he dies, since he's the only one who can suck the juices,
right?
I will also die. So I have to go on the rampage, and shit gets real when she's out and about.
I mean,
but it's important that you wear a slip dress,
right,
in every scene, so your nipples just pop right out because that's her secret weapon.
I told you, it's a movie of awkward boners. She is the awkward boner actress because it's like I don't feel like I should be turned on like this, but damn,
but I
am, and ruby red lipstick all the time. All the time.
That's
bad,
her,
mommy.
That's her attire for just hanging around the house too.
Right. That's all she wears is that little silk slip and ruby red lipstick.
It is. It's a goddamn slip. Is what it is.
Yeah.
It's not a regular dress. I guess. I mean, she's home. We all wear shit when we're like, I'm just staying in for the day. F it. Good grief. And this is. Go ahead.
I just love the fact that they do devote so much of that third act to how badass she really is. Because to me, that's like the real meat and potatoes of the movie. She is essentially the Terminator, and she takes out people one by one. First the dad, then the mom, then the cops, then Ron Perlman. She literally like snaps his arm in half.
She bites his fingers off first.
Fingers off.
And then breaks his arm and then punches him with his own arm.
Right.
That was good.
This is Ron Perlman.
There's also a Three Stooges clap two people's heads together of the two cops in the yard.
Yes. she's fucking people up. What's funny is Ron Perlman pops up, and I guess they don't really establish he's not a deputy. He's like the state police.
It's state police versus sheriff's department.
Right. They're both kind of arguing about jurisdiction and shit. There's a goddamn freak on the loose murdering people. What are we doing?
Yeah, there's also some weird like sexual tension between the two of them. Like I was like, why are they like flirting with each other? What's going on with that?
That's a Ron Perlman special.
I think so too.
If he's in there, he's gonna add a little bit of his flavor on there, no question. He's like, what if I just ad-lib a little tension?
He like stands up and he has like his hands on his hips and he like puts his pelvis out like he's presenting. It's just like the Ron Perlman stance. He does it in so many movies. I was like, I'm digging this. I'm digging this so much.
I do love Ron Perlman.
I mean, watching him as like the Beast and watching him as like Hellboy, you think he's like 6'5" or some shit. That motherfucker's about 5'4".
Yeah.
Shut your mouth.
Well, he's not that short.
Shut your mouth.
Versus Hollywood, so who's to say? I
thought he was like 6'4" or something.
No, he's a little.
What?
Yeah.
I'm Googling this shit.
Google
Talk
it.
amongst yourselves.
He's not Mickey Rooney. Perhaps I overstated. But he is he's not as tall as you think, was what I was trying to say. Anyway,
yeah,
he's
like
probably
when he's standing up next to the
5'8".
sheriff, he's a lot shorter than the sheriff, which I like. That did surprise me. Like, oh man, I really thought he was taller than that.
Right.
And I wanted them to bring Mark Hamill back too. Like I would have loved to have seen like that trifecta at the end of like the three law enforcement guys. I feel it's a missed opportunity.
I 100%. Well, especially with all the
6 feet tall.
I don't believe it. That's a Hollywood 6 foot. A Hollywood 6 foot. That means he's about 5'7".
Yeah, he's 6 feet tall, like
No.
like Tom Cruise is 6 feet tall.
Like Michael J. Fox is 6 feet tall.
There you go.
Oh my
Like Paul
God.
Williams is 6 feet
It
tall.
says 6'1" or 5'10", depending on which site you trust. He has said he's 6'2".
He's an actor. I don't believe anything actors say.
Let's all
Absolutely
agree he's taller than Tom Cruise.
Okay, I'll agree on that.
Okay, I'll stipulate, Your Honor. Um, but by the end of this movie, I don't want to jump ahead, but by the end of this movie, the only people left are Clovis and what's her name? Twin Peaks.
Matchonomic?
Machomomic. Everyone else has been murdered. When the sheriff is trying to help, and she just picks his ass up and just impales him on the picket fence. I was like, what the f*** is happening?
Why are you sending Junior out, who's clearly f***ing up left and right, when you are unstoppable? You are the Borg, and you are f***ing assimilating.
Yes.
Dude, Junior.
What the hell?
Junior
And
was
why aren't they getting the
amazing.
life force off of all these assholes?
Yeah, again, I don't understand the rules of Sleepwalkers because, like, I guess it is like Doctor Sleep, where the younger and prettier the victim is, the better their life juice tastes. Because yeah, she's surrounded
Like
by
an
tons of
expensive
people.
bottle of wine.
There you go. But yeah, like the deputy doofy junior guy was a choice.
Oh, 100%.
That was a choice.
He was
In
like
fact,
the comic
I'm amazed
relief.
that Stephen King didn't play that role himself because it kind of feels
my
like
God.
something he would.
Right. Well, of course, and then of course the deputy gets stabbed in the back with a corn cob, which what
Which
are we
they
doing?
foreshadow.
The
They
cornhole.
they foreshadow that shit, which is hilarious. He you can see on his plate he's eaten like 3 or 4 ears of corn, and the mom says, "Well, there's one last one left." He's like, "Okay." So he gets killed with that literal last ear of corn, stabbed in the back. Hilarious.
He deserved it. He was the worst deputy ever. He deserved
Okay.
it.
When he's shooting at her as she's like fucking up the dad or the mom, he literally hits everything made of glass in that room.
Yes.
Like 2 vases, 2 picture frames, a little figurine, but he can't hit the biggest object in the room, but he can hit the smallest little glass objects. I thought that was great.
I wanted the dad to take one on the floor. Oh, you know what I mean? that would have really painted the picture. Because you're right.
Like ricocheted it back.
Just something. Well, because that's the thing about this movie. It, like I said, for the first however long, it's a pretty standard kind of horror film. And then it takes like a wacky turn where it's like, we are obviously going for kind of broad comedy from here on out.
Yeah, and so the one thing I can say about the filmmaker of this, Mick Garris,
Yes.
who I like. I'm a
I do
huge
too.
fan of Mick Garris because I don't feel like he plays by any conventional rules. So like Psycho 4, which he directed, Olivia Hussey, rest in peace. That's all about incest too. It's all about, young Norman kind of wanting to bang his mom and mom being sexy. So after that movie was made and I saw that this was made like 3 years later, I was like, there's a kind of a connection there. He's like, oh, okay. I wanted to expand this story a little bit, this idea, except in Psycho 4, the kid never banged his mom. So we're fixing that in this one.
That's exactly right. Well, he's like, Psycho 4 was like a made for HBO movie, if I'm remembering correctly.
Right.
And HBO was like, no can do. But Sleepwalkers, a few years later, a little bit more liberal. It's like, please.
Right.
He's like, he was
Like-
waiting for that perfect script. He's like, I got this mother-son incest angle that I really want to work on.
Right.
Here's the perfect vehicle for me.
HBO's like, taxi cab confections, that's cool. Real sex, that's cool. Kid banging his mom, we gotta withhold a little bit of that.
That's a bridge too far. And I have to
Bridge
say,
too far.
as a young guy who'd occasionally spend the night at a friend's house who had HBO, when you saw Real Sex was on next, you're like, woohoo, cracking your knuckles, getting ready for action. And it's a horror story. It's always like middle-aged German couples at some kind of freaky strip or nudist colony, you're like, oh Jesus, what are you doing to me?
I was scarred for life by one of those where it was all about the orgies that happen at the Sturgis Hell's Angel rally for Harley Davidsons. And it was Harley Davidson biker orgies that happened in Sturgis. And I'm like 13. I'm like,
Right.
this is not what I expected.
No, that's false advertising.
It's totally false advertising.
That's why
How dare you?
If you turn over to Cinemax, because Cinemax, you'll get some Red Shoe Diaries or some shit. If you do watch it on HBO, you're rolling the dice. You don't know what you're gonna get.
You were.
Grief.
Anyway,
we got off track there.
Sturgis. That's gonna give me nightmares right now. What else about this movie do we want to talk about? Anything?
How about pencil in the ear? When they took out our fine deputy. And I don't even think he screamed enough because, quite frankly, that was like something right out of Evil Dead. Pencil murder.
Well, then he falls on it.
And then he falls on it, so you think they would go, yeah.
That was
but he
beautiful.
Still gets
that
up
was like,
and then dies by a bullet shot.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
It was a bummer.
He tried to save. I thought he was going to be successful, but I liked the close up of the pencil going in the ear. It reminded me of either Evil Dead or some Argento bullshit. That was one of the highlights.
Okay.
Yeah,
but I was sad to see him go because I thought he was going to be the one to save the day.
Nope,
it's his cat.
I mean, I hate to say it, but token black guy, right? They're gonna kill him. That's kind of what it was back then. Yeah. I want to talk about the cameos.
Oh, please.
So we've already talked about Ron Perlman. We've already talked about Mark Hamill, but we got Stephen King in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they're all like in the two scenes. Then we also had Toby Hooper, director of Texas Chainsaw. Then we had Joe Dante
and Salem Lot.
Then Joe Dante and John Landis as like photo developers. Like there were so many directors in this movie that just popped in. That's why I'm like, this was a movie made by favors.
No, quite. Well, and you skipped Clive Barker was in there as well.
I didn't see Clive Barker. I was looking for him.
There's one scene where Stephen King is in the graveyard walking around. The first guy he talks to is a bearded guy. That's Toby Hooper. The second guy is this kind of gravelly voice guy trying to affect an American accent. That's Clive Barker. Boom, boom. They have those two guys literally had like maybe 2 words between them. But you're right. When they cut to Joe Dante with his crazy helmet hair, that
was crazy looking.
That was great. And John Landis, right? It's like, here's 2 scenes. We're just going to shove these 2 guys in this one, shove these 2 guys in this one, and we're good to go. Moving on.
We needed more of that and less of the bullshit. I think if it was just cameos, it could have been a little bit more fun. Instead, it was like, meh.
It was pushing maximum density on cameos as it was, for being honest.
Well, and they're so close together.
Right.
Like that's the thing is like it's like all right in the middle of the second act where they have all these people show up. But hey, you know what? I was happy to see them. And I like the fact that there was like this camaraderie of like horror writers and filmmakers that were all hanging out and doing shit together. And like, okay, let's be in Mick Garris's and Stephen King's silly movie. We're all in LA anyway. Let's just do it. Like, I like that. I like that there's like kind of a club of these guys.
Right. Mick Garris actually has a podcast, a horror podcast where he talks about horror movies with his buddies. So that's kind of, if you haven't seen that, check that out.
Post-mortem, it's cool. It was off the air for a while, but it's kind of come back a little bit. So yeah. And he's a good podcaster. He talks to some great people and lots of great stories. Like that dude's film history is crazy. Like if you go back, he was part of the whole crew that wrote Batteries Not Included and Hocus Pocus. Like as a writer, he goes back way further than as a filmmaker. So he's got an established horror history. It's kind of cool.
Absolutely.
And, people shit on his Stephen King adaptations, like The Stand and the version of The Shining that Stephen King wrote himself with the guy from Wings.
Oh God,
I used to love Wings.
Me too. But yeah,
no.
Any last thoughts on Sleepwalkers?
Yeah, I would love to see a remake of this movie, but with less camp. I feel like one of the things that people are doing these days is they're making like really dark, serious, and scary revisions of TV shows or horror movies that were a little bit more campy back in the 80s and 90s.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that this is begging for a remake, but I think that the right person could do a good remake of it if they tone down the camp and the humor and, dare I say, turn up the violence and sexuality. I think it could be something really interesting.
Did you say sexuality?
Oh, sexuality.
No,
I
my
think
rule.
they call that Hostel. Isn't that Hostel?
It's something like that. What's the rule for remake?
Like, I don't think that we should be remaking films that are looked at with an air or respect or prestige. Like Death Wish, we
Agree.
didn't need a Death Wish remake,
We
but
didn't need a Suspiria remake.
exactly. But a movie like this, where let's say if it's
Can you
like
guys hear me?
a 50%,
Yeah.
I can hear you. If it was like a
Hello?
50% on Rotten Tomatoes,
Yes, we
I can
hear
hear you.
you.
I don't know what's
Gotta
up
love
with my internet.
Zencaster.
It's pure crap.
honestly, it's like I walk across the street to a neighbor's house because it's quieter and theoretically the internet's better, and it's still crazy town. So I apologize to the world at large. Anything
Am
else?
I pixelated? Because you both are pixelated.
You seem clear to me. Kevin's the only one that's kind of pixely on my end.
Hell up. I have some quotes here.
good.
Your man is going to want to know some rubbing is going on here. What the hell?
Who said that?
Mom to Charles.
Mom. Who the hell's Charles?
Charles is Brian Krause.
Because you said
I
it.
can't-
You
There
said
you
it with
go.
a crazy accent, so I wasn't sure if it was the
Yeah.
caretaker or a janitor or what the
Crypt
story was.
Keeper.
She kind of sounded like Andy Griffith for a second. I'm like,
It was something. Good grief. Shall we go behind the scenes?
oh, let's do.
Do it.
Okay, let's see.
Share some secrets.
Let's see. According to director Mick Garris, Stephen King's wife Tabitha King wrote a treatment for a sequel that would have involved a women's basketball team.
Oh, Jesus
I'm in.
Christ.
Where
in.
do I sign up? Both Mick Garris and Mad Shamamek are allergic to cats. So there you go. This is
That
important.
is interesting.
Mick Garris revealed the Enya song was chosen in the film only because of all the songs provided to him by Sony Music at the time for cross promotion. It was the one song that he felt fit the tone of the film. That's why there's a random Enya song later in the movie.
Yeah, that's correct. And speaking of that, like woman humming theme song throughout the movie is
Mhm.
kind of disturbing. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's just, there's just too much of it.
Fair. Mick Garris cast Alice Krige as Mary Brady after remembering her appearance in Ghost Story in 1981.
Again, another awkward boner movie with a performance by
100%.
her.
Well, because she's in the bathtub, but she's also kind of like a dead ghost woman. So it's
Correct.
kind of that's rough. That's not good. Let's see. Mick Garris revealed that they had to make 9 different cuts to get an R rating, but only one of them was for sex. So there you go.
What were the others?
R-rated just for confusion.
100%. Just because people didn't know what the hell was happening, so they had to make some cuts.
For multiple corn on the cob stabbings.
It was all corn on the cob, no question.
Porny was too porny.
This is the only film that has Stephen King and Clive Barker in the same scene. Shocking.
I bet it's the only movie with Stephen King and some other jackass too.
Okay. Let's talk about the cast and crew, shall we?
Let's.
Mick Garris was the director. You know him from such things as Amazing Stories. He wrote 9 episodes. He wrote Critters 2, The Main Course in 1988.
Which is the best of the critters. Let's not kid ourselves.
Is Leonardo DiCaprio in that one?
No, that's part 3.
Part 3, sweet
Oh,
Jesus.
God.
He directed Sleepwalkers, and he wrote some segments for Nightmare Cinema in 2018. Good stuff. We know Stephen King was the writer of Sleepwalkers. Wrote the script, not based upon any book, like you said. You know him for, I love the things that IMDb chooses. Writer, Maximum Overdrive.
That's
Number one on the list.
Number 1 with a bullet. Writer, Creepshow in 1982. Writer, Shawshank Redemption, 1984. And creator of Kingdom Hospital in 2004. 9 episodes. Brian Krause played Charles Brady, the high school age sleepwalker person. You know him from such things. They only give me 3 things for Brian Krause, so that's not great. He was in 145 episodes of Charmed as Leo Wyatt. So there you go.
He had perfectly feathered hair in this movie. That's all you need to know.
He was in 1991's Return to Blue Lagoon.
Oh, with Mia Jovovich.
Was that the... Okay, now I'm clicking on this. I think... Was Mia Jovovich... You're right. Good, bro, that was a pull. Good work. Yep. And I think she was only like 17 or something in this, because this is 1991. She was young.
They stuck to like the Brooke Shields formula of like, let's make sure that they're underage, but their mom says it's okay. It's
Right.
one of those.
It's suitably creepy. Right.
Unlike Porky's, where they're 40 and in high school.
Right. And of course, Sleepwalkers in 1992. Let's see. Madsham Amick played Tanya Robertson. I always forget the characters' names because I don't care enough to think about it. You know her from 1993's Dream Lover.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
James Spader. Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Ooh.
You
We
do
might have
know
to
it.
put that on the list. Is it a horror or is it?
No, it's Cessy. It's a Cessy movie.
I do like some Spader, so.
She was in 30 episodes of Twin Peaks as Shelley Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me, also Shelley Johnson.
I did see that.
And 117 episodes of Riverdale. You guys ever seen Riverdale?
That's like the new
I thought
Archie
you
show,
said-
right?
Yes.
I thought you said Riverdance.
113 episodes of Riverdance. Kill me now.
My students like Riverdale.
Riverdale is wild because it's basically like, if you're, familiar with the 80s, it's a nonstop 80s cameo fest. Like the kids are all, they're not kids, they're like 25 or whatever they are. They're all kind of young up and comers, but like all the parents are all famous. Like Luke Perry was on there. I think Skeet Ulrich was on there. Like it's check it out. Although I've never checked it out. So
like, what are you talking about?
Thanks for talking it up, though.
Alex Krieg played Mary Brady. You know her from such things as Star Trek First Contact. She was the Borg Queen, as we said. Absolutely. Yeah. She was in Gretel and Hansel in 2020 playing the witch.
Ooh, unfamiliar.
It was okay.
That was I was waiting. You've seen more shit than I have. No question. She was in Chariots of Fire in 1981.
I never saw that.
It's I enjoyed it. And Sleepwalkers.
There's no chariots on fire, though. It's kind of false advertising.
Yeah, if that's what you're looking for. False advertising. Ron Perlman played Captain Soames. You know him from such things as 20 episodes of Hand of God.
Ooh.
I don't know that one.
I don't know what that is.
He was in Hellboy 2, The Golden Army in 2008, Hellboy 2004, and 55 episodes of Beauty and the Beast playing Vincent, the Beast.
Well, first of
There
all,
was 55 episodes of that?
Isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
It was very popular. But what about Sons of Anarchy and his beautiful portrayal of like a Rush Limbaugh character in Last Supper?
Last Supper was good.
I love Last Supper.
I always laugh because it's just whatever IMDb decides is the top 4. It is the most bizarre mismatch. Anybody else you guys want to know? I mean, we know about John Landis and Joe Dante and the rest of the gang, but they're on.
And Ferris Bueller's parents. Like, I think we've talked about everybody. We talked about Otho. Yeah, I think we covered it.
I love it. He's Otho, but he's also the priest in Heathers. Arguably, in my mind, Heathers is like another Tim Burton film, but it's not. It just has the same kind of vibe.
It has that vibe.
It's those dream sequences, where it's like the wide angle lens, and I think everyone's wearing 3D glasses.
Right. Totally.
And he says, Eskimo. He's also like the dandy assistant to the bad guy in Demolition Man.
Yes. Yes. Oh my! See, he's the hardest working man in show business.
I agree.
No question.
I swear to you, I'm gonna make a prediction. All these movies that I fucking hate, when I post it on TikTok, always get the highest views. With people going, that's my favorite fucking movie.
Yeah.
And I can post a masterpiece and it's crickets.
I did Tango and Cash on my show last week, and it's getting all sorts of views. I'm like, Tango and Cash is arguably one of the worst Stallone movies ever, but people fucking love it. I love it.
Worse than Nighthawks?
I love Nighthawks.
I know, I do too.
It's worse than Rhinestone. How about that?
Well, Lord, I never even saw that one.
Kevin knows what Rhinestone is.
Now, I'm sad to say that there are only 2 top critics, and they're neither that I'm familiar with.
No Rex Reed?
No, if only. Remember, at one point, Antonio, we were like, every week we'll give Rex Reed's review. And then he didn't review the next like 10 movies that we did.
Yeah.
Right.
In our 300 episode catalog, I think we found him 4 times.
Right. It seemed funny, at least to us at the time. Let's see. Nell Minnow from Movie Mom says, what the a nicely scary little thriller and one of the better adaptations of King's work. 4 out of 5.
She don't know shit. It's not an adaptation. It was written for the screen.
I know. Yeah. What? Come on, Movie Mom.
I'm writing a letter to Movie Mom.
Come on, Nancy. You could do better.
Aaron, what is your rating for Sleepwalkers?
Oh, mother of God. I don't care how many motherfucking cameos you want to throw in there. This is a dog. This is 1. Everyone can off out of 5.
Jesus.
Go to hell. No one needs to see this again. Throw it in a pile of trash with my demon lover. Light a match. The end. Amen.
That's very specific. Antonio, what is your rating?
Well, because I own it on DVD and Shout Factory Blu-ray, I didn't have to rent it. I have to give this 3 out of 5 stars if we're doing the Letterboxd score. On entertainment alone, by all means, it is not a good movie. But I dig it. I think it's funny as hell. I have a fun time watching it. But again, I'm the one that also has Bugsy Malone, Phantom of the Paradise, and Maximum Overdrive on my shelf. So me, right?
There's a Phantom of the Paradise action figure that popped up on my TikTok. I was like, what the hell? So,
did you buy it?
I did not. I'm on financial restriction this month.
Is there a Paul Williams action figure? Because if there is,
no, but I'm following him on the Instagram. He is quite
shit.
active on the gram.
I bet he is. It's funny. I think Aaron has become unnecessarily harsh lately, where everything's a 1.
I am telling it like it is. I am the voice of truth.
I think if I'm giving it a 1, it's like I'm running from the room screaming. It's kind of my attitude, where I'm like, this is total dog shit. I don't think this is that bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's kind of uneven in tone, let's say.
It's a little rough around the edges.
Little rough around the edges. I think that the mythology makes no fucking sense. Once you start like clawing at the surface a little bit, you're like, what? So don't think about it. Is my advice. I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5.
Oh my God!
Do not seek it out. You know what I'm saying? But you don't have to necessarily run from the room. Is all I'm saying.
I feel like this is a movie that you had to have been like initiated into, right? Like you saw it in the theater. I grew up with it on cable, so I've got the nostalgia goggles. I can see very easily how someone who walks in this movie for the first time now, not knowing any of the references, any of the cameos that make it fun, would just not be entertained by this. So I get you.
I don't know. I mean, I see it. It's like
I know all the references and all the cameos, and I still say that dog needs to go to the pound.
That's funny. It's like, it takes a sophisticated mind to really appreciate
Like, no,
the breadth of
no.
No, it's pretty standard fare for most of it, which you're like, fine, take it or leave it. When it kind of flips and it goes bonkers, I was kind of in at that point. I was like,
I like the bonkerness.
Look, right? It's not great. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying pay $3.99 to rent this piece of shit. Not saying that. Not saying that. But there are definitely funny moments in this that I appreciate. It's not scary. There's no scares in this. Except some of the performances, perhaps. But other than that, I think it's inoffensive. It's fine. It's
So inoffensive 2.5.
2.5. I just don't think. Look, you don't have to love it. It can't be. If I don't love it, it's a 1.
Right.
Okay, it can't be that, Aaron, is what I'm saying.
Yes, it can. And I'll never watch it again. Don't make me watch it again.
You don't.
If we go to some new space age platform, because we're redoing movies from the B Movie Club. If we go to some futuristic platform for podcasts, we're not doing this one again.
This is on the no can do list. This is the no fly list.
It's the why bother list. Why bother?
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Any last thoughts of Sleepwalkers?
Give me that remake.
Give
me a Clovis series. That's it.
That's it.
You're going to sleepwalker through this movie. That's what's going to happen.
Honestly, I thought it was about my memoirs are also going to be called Sleepwalker. Sad to say. Good Lord. That or Night Terror. Anywho, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. The podcast that wouldn't die. We're across all sorts of social media and shit, but not as much as we used to be on. We're on Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok for now, Instagram, Facebook. Not really, honestly.
Essentially, you really have to like us to find us because we've narrowed down your choices.
We're thinning the herd. We're also on YouTube. You may be watching us on video as we speak, for goodness sake.
Let me stop you right there. One of my goddamn high school students has 400,000 followers on his YouTube channel. What the hell? You and I are thrilled if we get like 20. I'm like, what's happening in the world?
Yeah, they have more friends than we do, Aaron. That's what it is.
Not 400,000 friends at 16 years old. We need to add more Pikachu, I think, to the podcast. I think that will help boost us.
There you go.
You can also email us, the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, what is your social media situation? What is your social media situation?
I'm on Artsy and First Dibs, Aaron Doherty. Buy my art. I am also on the gram. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult.
Antonio, Tell us about your amazing podcast and what you're up to these days.
So you can find me over at thecultworthy.com. I've got the Cultworthy Cinema podcast where I recently had Kevin and Aaron of the podcast That Wouldn't Die talking about Demon Lover, my Demon Lover from 1987. That's a great conversation for a not so great movie. And then you can also hear me on my other podcast, Back to the Balcony, which is me and my co-host reviewing the critiques of Siskel and Ebert from their reviews of the 80s and 90s. So
Ooh, I
check those
like
out.
that.
Find me there. Yep.
Good stuff. As we try to do the thoughts and feelings of our friends across the interwebs. Aaron, what do we got?
Our friend Leo, who we did all the It's Alive movies with, reached out on the old TikTok to point out that some of our videos got no sound because those motherfuckers keep claiming that we're copyright infringements because it was like Cotton Eye Joe was a song in the background. So TikTok blocks everything. But we claim fair usage, but you can't argue with a bot.
No, you can't.
It's upsetting. It's upsetting.
It is.
Next week, we're going to be discussing the Giallo film from Dario Argento's Tenebrae, starring Anthony Franciosa and John Saxon and Daria Nicolodi. Don't ask me how I remembered any of those names other than John Saxon, who I love.
Because Daria is married to Dario and is in half his films.
So go ahead and check that out. Send us any favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. So once again, thank you to Antonio from the Cult-Worthy Cinema Podcast. Go ahead and check that out.
Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you very much. Always a good time. And definitely check out our episode with him, My Demon Lover. So you can listen to it here and you can listen to it there. Good times.
A perfect double feature.
A perfect double feature. So thank you very much and be well.
I say good day.